Paging the TV doctor. Paging the TV doctor. Let's start off this video with some numbers. I've been going over the ratings for this week, and it's pretty interesting. One show that I was expecting to do really well actually didn't do as well as expected. So I've got my file, so let's go through it. Okay, first, Mad Men. Well, we all know Mad Men was going to do well. Mad Men had 3.4 million views when it came back for its sixth season. According to the Hollywood Reporter, it was 100,000 shy of its most recent premiere. And we also have to take into account that the shows that it's going up against include Game of Thrones and fellow AMC show The Walking Dead. And next we had Ready for Love, the new show on NBC, and its rating was 1.6, and it dropped half a point in its second hour, according to, again, the Hollywood Reporter. All these stats are the Hollywood Reporter. The Voice, which was its lead-in, was still very high, 4.2 for adults, and it went up a tenth of a point from last Tuesday's episode. So one would think that with such a huge lead-in as The Voice, that Ready for Love would do way better than 1.6, but I think it's because even with a show that has a good lead-in, you can expect people to actually stay and watch the new episode of something because they're only tuning in for the show that is getting the most ratings. So it's a good strategy to have a new show come behind a very successful one, but sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. It's a mixed bag approach, kind of. You just have to, if it works, it works. If it doesn't, it doesn't. There's also some news on the renewing front to talk about. Bates Motel, the freshman thriller drama for A&E, it has been renewed for a second season, according to the Hollywood Reporter. Um, their site reports that the A&E show was the most watched scripted drama in the network's history among 18 to 49-year-olds and 25 to 54-year-olds, two very key demographics that networks are always trying to get. It drew in 4.5 million in the 18 to 49 range and 2.5 in the 25 to 54 range. In the second episode, it jumped up 6% among the 25 to 54 set against increased competition in its 10 p.m. Monday slot. So I have been hearing good things about it, so it's good that the show is getting the attention it deserves and has gotten its second season. I started watching the first episode, and I actually really liked it, although I was kind of thrown off at first by the fact that it was set in the modern day when the Bateses were still kind of set back in the 60s or even the 50s. So that I have to get used to that personally. But it was a good episode, so hats off to them. So, Ready for Love. We already talked about it in the ratings category, but now I'm going to give it a prognosis. And, this is one show that was kind of difficult to give a prognosis for. Not so much because it's a reality show, but just because it has a lot of moving parts in it, and it's surprising that this type of show has that many different elements in it. Um, it might be one too many elements, but we'll see. Uh, so first of all, Ready for Love is executive produced by Eva Longoria, hosted by Bill and Juliana Rancic. So the synopsis of Ready for Love is that we're taking three bachelors, all of them rich, all of them successful. All these three guys are, of course, looking for love. So we have the bevy of women that they have to choose from, but it's not just how the bachelor just has a ton of women living in one house and he just chooses one to go home week by week until we get to the one he's supposed to marry. We have first the bachelor is supposed to choose, I think it's 9 girls out of 10, um, that he wants to send to the house, and that's done with a blind audition. So we have a little bit of the voice coming into these type of bachelorette shows. So first you have to choose them through the blind auditions. Then you have to, of course, go to the house and live there among the other girls and go on these dates with everyone. You have to try to do your best to get alone time with the bachelor. You have to take your matchmaker's um, advice into account, and more about them later. Uh, you have to, just do your best to win the heart of this guy. And then at the end of the episode, we have all the girls come sit on stage, live on stage, and have the matchmakers tell them what they did right and what they did wrong. And that's kind of like a reunion show type thing, like if you're watching Real Housewives or something. So you have that element. And of course, you have like the whole game show element itself with the blind auditions and later who will he choose to go home. So there's a lot of stuff going on here, and I haven't even talked about the matchmakers yet. So the matchmakers involved in this show are Matthew Hussey, Tracy McMillan, and Amber Kelleher Andrews. So Matthew Hussey, we might already know from YouTube, from his GetTheGuy.com videos on YouTube. He started out as a life coach with individual clients in London and then worked his way up to hosting Secrets of Attraction seminars, working with the royal family, um, working with various celebrities, high profile people, and now he's on NBC on Ready for Love. And Tracy McMillan published an article on the Huffington Post about why women aren't married, and that got people talking so much so that she ended up writing a book based on the same article. And the book is called Why You're Not Married Yet. And so that's her claim to fame. And Amber Kelleher Andrews owns Kelleher International. She has helped thousands upon thousands of clients find true love and happiness. Um, Pretty stellar. And Amber also hosted her own radio show, Rules of Engagement. And I guess to give a little bit of background on the bachelors in this show, we have Tim Lopez, who is a band member in Plain White Tees. We have Ernesto Arguello, who is a civil and architectural engineer and philanthropist. And we have Ben Patton, who is an investment banker. He has a huge, I mean, they all have huge resumes, but Ben Patton, investment banker, opened businesses with his brother, was asked to work for the royal family of Abu Dhabi and became the youngest investment manager at the Sovereign Wealth Fund, as quoted by NBC. I was quoted from NBC. And he's now the CEO of a private hospital in Dallas. So that's a lot. Any woman will be lucky to have any of these guys. So that's where this show comes in, to pair these guys up with hopefully the woman of their dreams. Um, the pros for the show, there's a lot to like about it. It's a lot better than The Bachelor, I think. I mean, The Bachelor is really entertainment. I mean, of course, all of this is entertainment, but it's really, it knows it's entertainment. I guess if I can say one con early on about Ready for Love is that it's entertainment disguised as real, real help in a way. I mean, it's, I'm sure it is real help because we have real matchmakers on here giving real tips that people can use in their everyday lives. But at the end of the day, it's still got an entertainment factor to it. So it's not completely like we're watching a counseling session. It's not a counseling session. It's still a show about a guy trying to find a girl. It's still basically love connection, is what I'm saying. No matter how you dress it up, it's still love connection. So that out of the way. Back to pros. All the different elements of the show, like the the voice like blind auditions and um, the focus on real matchmakers helping these women make good impressions. All this type of stuff is a lot more, and the dissecting by the matchmakers at the end of the episode is a lot more comprehensive than The Bachelor, which just leaves people to do whatever they want to scheme if they want to make alliances, which is stupid. Um, it's it feels like it is genuine in wanting to help and wanting to change the landscape of these types of reality shows. And the contestants and bachelors do seem intent on actually finding true love. They don't seem like they just want to get famous for being on a show, because a lot of the contestants on The Bachelor and The Bachelorette think that by getting cast on this type of show, that somehow it's going to parlay it, they can parlay it to some type of movie career or TV career or something. And you don't want to be a serial reality show star. Like, that's not, I don't think that's what some of these people, I mean, they might be aiming for that, but I don't think that's their ultimate goal. But it seems like these people, at least most of them anyway, are actually looking for true love. So that's good. Everyone seems genuine, and they seem like they're putting their best feet forward. So there's that. But we'll see. Like, I'm sure there's gonna be somebody who's gonna come and just want to be on TV for TV's sake. But so far, everyone seems like they are adamant about actually finding someone to marry. There is more diversity on this show than on The Bachelor, and that's a whole different element that I could talk about for a long time. Um, I'm sure some of you might have read an article that I think was on the Hollywood Reporter a year or two ago, where the creator of The Bachelor addressed, uh, concerns that his show was kind of not, well, I guess being discriminatory, to be blunt about it. People were concerned that the show was discriminating against black people who wanted to be on the show. And he said something to the effect of that they do try to cast for diversity, but there just don't seem to be a lot of people, a lot of black people, or I guess any person of any ethnicity that wants to be on these shows, except for the people that get cast on the shows, which happen to be white people. Um, at the time, I thought that was interesting, but now that this show has come out, it's kind of put the ball back in his court, because this show does have diversity. It does have different ethnicities on there, and thanks to the blind auditions, people aren't just choosing people based on their own, uh, I don't want to say fetishes, but people are attracted to certain things about other people. Like, some people might say, I like how Tim Lopez says in this episode how he has a thing for blondes. Like, if he had seen all the people that was up there, he might have only chosen the blonde people just because that's what he already knows he likes. But the blind auditions help you get past your own kind of, well, I like this and I like this, because you're only going by somebody's voice and what they bring to the table without you seeing what they look like. So that's one good thing. Um, and I mean, it can be argued that maybe there's something else at work as to why he can't find uh, black people to put on The Bachelor. I don't know what's going on there. I mean, I don't know if it's something doing with the casting director, or I don't know. But obviously, you can find people of different races to be on these shows, because Ready for Love has already done that and they've already succeeded. And it seems like not only are there different ethnicities on Team Tim, because that's who we saw in the first episode. But it seems like he has more of a connection with one of the black girls on the team than the other girls, outside of the funny blonde girl. So there's that. And high production values. This show has very high production values. Like the show seems to be, I guess, showing everything it has instead of holding some things back. Like I know a show should have, as high production value as they can have, but it might be too high for this show because there are, of course, a lot of elements, but then there's like very expensive editing, and some of these packages that are shown uh, is very glossy. And I mean that's great, but sometimes it can be a little bit too glossy, which is kind of a con. It can get too much to just like, oh, it's too much glitz and glamour coming at me. Well, too many lens flare type things, like just too much, editing and this element and this element and this element and all these other elements, and it's a lot. So I guess since I already talked about like two cons, let's keep going with the cons. Hopefully, every episode won't be 2 hours long, like this first episode was. Um, I had just watched The Voice after or before this show came on, so I was already like, okay, I've been sitting watching a show for an hour, and I'm ready for one other hour, not particularly two. So sitting in the front of the TV for 3 hours, when you stop and think about it, that's a long time for one show to take up 2 of those hours. So I mean, I know they had a lot to cover in this episode, yeah, a lot of ground rules to talk about, but maybe there could have been a way to at least have it at 1.5 hours or something, because as we said before, or as I said before, the show dropped a half a point in a second hour. So after that first hour, people were like, okay, I can't deal with this anymore, and just changed the channel, or they got bored or something and just changed the channel. So it needs to be shorter overall for everyone involved. Um, I would like a longer dissection time just because I like hearing all the tips and criticisms that the matchmakers have for the people. That's one thing that I kind of wish The Bachelor had. It's not like I watch that show a lot anymore, but it was like years ago when I was watching it when it was first new. But it's not like The Bachelor ever has a moment where they're just like, we need to talk about how you're approaching this, and I don't think this guy's gonna like it if you do X and X and X. Like if you act like a conniving person, I don't think he's gonna like it. So I like that we have these pep talks or constructive talks in the show. I just wish that they were longer, like not just at the like it can be at the end of the episode, but I wish that there was more time allotted to that type of stuff. Will people watch after The Voice? We kind of talked about this already, but it's just unsure to see how many people will keep watching after The Voice goes off. Because once you see the show you want to see, then you're changing the channel to something else. So I don't know if the lead in with The Voice is gonna keep working, because obviously it already didn't work now for the first episode. So how's it gonna work later on? So we'll see though. Maybe the show has to find its legs. Um, so that's why I think by next week we'll really know where the show might be headed. As far as where it is for this week, it's too early to tell. But maybe by next week, with everybody talking about it, people will start tuning in and see what they missed last week. Because I know even with my family, we've been talking about it, you know, ever since it went off. So maybe word of mouth is going to help the show get the ratings it needs to stay on and to come back for a second season. So, with all that said, my prognosis is that the show is currently at a fair state. And I think that's, being pretty generous. Um, we like I said, we just have to see if the show will find its legs. That's the important thing, and I guess that's the important thing for every show. But for this one, that seems like it has so much writing on it. For it to be executive produced by Eva Longoria, for it to be her baby, like she seems really invested in this show, and for it to have so much manpower in terms of the matchmakers and two hosts and stuff, like there's a lot resting on this show. Not to mention the fact that the show is saying we are going to find two people that should be together and that they are going to. They haven't said this outright, but it's basically saying we're going to find these people, they're going to be together, and they're going to stay together because we found the right two people for them. Like that's the whole draw of the show. That's why it's different from The Bachelor, because we're going to find two people that will stay together. And I guess they do kind of say that because even Longoria talks about how The Bachelor and The Bachelorette have all these couples that end up getting married but end up getting divorced. And her goal is to have two people that don't end up getting divorced later on. So that's already a lot to live up to. So we just have to see if the show is going to be able to do it. Like it's going to be able to deliver not only ratings, but the promise of actually finding true love for two people. So I don't know. Like fair, I think is probably the best thing I can give it. Like I could be really critical and say that it's probably in worse shape than it looks, but fair fair is fair, I think.